Welcome to this series of videos on tree felling. The first video in this series, Felling Objectives, explains why there are so many different methods being advocated. It should also help you select the methods that are best for your situation. So let's look at felling objectives. The objective will have a major impact on the type of methods and techniques that are most appropriate. The objective will fall in one of four categories: obtaining lumber, obtaining pulpwood, obtaining firewood, or simple removal.
When cutting for lumber, the butt log is usually the most valuable. It is usually the most clear-grained and will be the largest in diameter. It is important to keep the stumps short to minimize the amount of marketable wood left in the forest. However, the grain at the bottom of the stump is usually not straight-grained, as the base flares wide. The abrupt bending of the grain is not desirable in lumber, so the bottom part of a stump is typically not harvested as part of the butt log. When cutting for paper or chip production, the direction of the grain is not important, as it will be reduced to fiber pulp or flakes. Therefore, as much of the stump will be taken as can be conveniently cut and transported. In European practice, most of the tree harvested for pulp will be medium to small. In terms of convenience and comfort, it makes sense to use a small saw rather than lugging around a large, heavy one. A small saw may not be able to extend through the trunk at the buttress roots, so the buttresses are typically cut away so the saws can reach far enough into or through the tree. Even if the saw can cut through the trunk and its buttress roots, the buttresses are often cut off to facilitate stacking on the trucks. When cutting for firewood, all of the wood will eventually have to be cut into lengths short enough to fit into a fireplace or a wood stove.
Therefore, the felling cut may be made at a comfortable height, with the subsequent cut made lower on the stump to harvest it for firewood as well. With all of the cuts and the care required to make those notches meet, you don't want to spend that time bent over taxing your back. Once the tree is down, you can make a single cut through the base, being sure to use a wedge to keep your blade from getting pinched. Sometimes a tree is simply being removed, perhaps because it's dead, leaning in a dangerous direction, shading undesirably, or perhaps even just blocking a view. The felling considerations are similar to when cutting for firewood.
About the only distinction is that it is no longer important to cut it into stove or fireplace lengths. The objective will be to get the tree into sizes that can be readily managed and disposed of with the available equipment.
The next video in this series, The Notch, will look at the notch cuts that may be appropriate for each of these objectives.